someone smarter than me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Warren. And the question always is, particularly in business, you can't change the environment. You really got to focus on what you can do moving forward. We are where we are, and the question is, where do we go moving forward? And what I do know is, as a Liberal Party, we couldn't have anyone more qualified and better to lead us to make sure that we can lead this conversation on what needs to change in the economy so your businesses can continue to thrive. So please welcome to the lectern, Angus Taylor.
Great, thank you, Aaron. It's wonderful to have Aaron here in the Parliament as your local member. Jane said nice things about him about how he speaks in the party room, which is absolutely right. But let me add one other thing to it. We do not have enough people in the Parliament who have genuine private sector experience. On the other side, there's almost none. We need more. And Aaron is one of those. And one of the things I absolutely love about working with Aaron is he always brings that small business perspective to every issue. And that is so valuable to our party room. But it's also incredibly representative of his part of the world, because I know small businesses are such an important part of Casey and his electorate. So thank you for lending him to us. We're going to keep using him. He's wonderful. Can I also thank all of you for being here? It's great to have you here. Small business people, as Aaron said, are the heartbeat of our local communities. Everyone has contact with their local small business people every day, whether it's buying a coffee or going to the restaurant or buying other things. That is what we're also relying on. And you don't get enough thanks for what you do. So thank you. To Jane, it's wonderful to have my deputy here, and we've been doing these, we're starting to do these all around the country. I've been doing them for a few weeks now up in Queensland, and I'm hearing lots of interesting feedback. We'll get to that in a moment when you can ask us questions and give us feedback as well. Before we get to that though, I do want to say a little bit about our plan. I'll start though with a summary of what we've heard from Warren, and it's a simple summary. This country is in an economic crisis. Make no mistake about it. Every crisis is different. But we've seen the biggest collapse of Australia's standard of living of any developed country in the world in the last 4 years. Terribly unlucky, the Labor Party. That crisis started when they came to power. Go figure. Go figure. Biggest collapse in living standards of any developed country in the world. Our economy has only grown in the last 4 years because of one thing. Only one. Population growth. And that was nearly all immigration growth, because our fertility rate, as you heard, has dropped. So we're not growing in any meaningful way. And we are now seeing record levels of small business insolvency, 30 a day. That's 30 people, 30 families, hopes and dreams. Every day. Every day. This is not the economy that Australia is used to. We can do better than this. We can do better than this. So the question is, where to from here? One option is more of the same. That's what the Labor Party think. They've run out of money because the economy is not growing properly anymore. So they're coming after yours. That's what they do. When Labor runs out of money, they come after yours. That's the first option for Australia. And it's my job, and it will continue to be my job, to convince Australians that that's not a real option. That is the worst of all possible worlds. The good news from my perspective, but I think it's the good news from Australians' perspective, is that a near record level of people are now saying the country is going in the wrong direction. That's option one. Option two is we say, nah, Australia's buggered, blow the place up. And I understand there's a lot of people who are very angry about what they're seeing, not just economically, it's culturally as well. What we saw at Bondi just over 6 months ago. This country doesn't feel like it used to. When people decide to stand in front of 3 flags and only one of them is Australian flag, and they denigrate the national anthem. It doesn't feel like the Australia we're used to. So there are some who say, light the match, we'll have a moment of satisfaction. And that's what I think you would get with a one nation government. They're a one person show, and I don't think they have the solutions to this country's problems, solutions to the crisis that Warren's been talking about here. They don't have the team and they don't have the plan. I think we do. So let me go to that. Let me start with the team. You've met two members of the team here tonight who I think are both absolutely outstanding, both had serious private sector experience. They did a lot before they came to politics, and we've got lots like that. That's one of the key characteristics of our team. I'm the same. I came into politics in my late 40s. I've been working in the private sector all my career before that. I grew up in a small business and farming family, southern New South Wales, on the edge of the Snowy Mountains. And I saw my mum and dad work their asses off every day, days bleeding into nights and weekdays bleeding into weekends, and worrying about how to pay the mortgage, the interest payments, how to get through a drought, how to deal with low commodity prices. We were there in the early 90s shooting sheep, as were so many farmers. And I saw that pain. But I also saw what small businesses like ours did for their customers, their employees, their communities. And I learned that they are the lifeblood of our communities. And that's what characterises our team. We understand that point more than anything else. And we have a broad range of experience and skills in our team. But the plan is the key. And right at the heart of that plan is to re-establish reward for hard work in this country. If younger Australians don't believe that by working hard they can get ahead, they won't work hard. Why would you? If they don't believe that they can go for it and get themselves in a position where they can buy a home, start a family, and maybe start a business, certainly pursue their career, they won't do it. They'll pack it in. And we're seeing too many young Australians who are ambitious and aspirational. Don't let anyone tell you that 20-somethings in Australia are not aspirational. They absolutely are. But if they feel like the rules have changed and they're not going to work for them, then they're going to behave differently. We have to change that. We have to restore hope and aspiration and restore reward for hard work. So at the heart of that is tax. And this government imposing taxes on small businesses in the way they are, on investment in the way they are, savings and homes, all of the things are about putting things away, working hard, being prudent. They're punishing that. That's punishing aspiration. That's denigrating success rather than celebrating it. So we have to change that, and we will axe those toxic taxes. We will axe those toxic taxes. But we'll go further. We'll cut other taxes. We want small businesses investing in this country. And that means making it easier to invest and making sure that you pay less tax if you invest, which is why we'll take the instant asset write-off to $50,000, make it permanent. I'd like to take it further. I think when you invest, you're investing not just in your business, you're investing in the country. So we should reward that. We should reward that. And we've also got to slash government. You heard from Warren how government's getting in the way, crowding out small businesses, crowding out private sector, crowding out enterprise, crowding out effort. And that means we've got to slash the red tape. We'll start with the construction sector. You know, if you've got to build a house now, anyone working in the construction sector here? Yeah, we've got a few. So some of you will know the National Construction Code. I hate the National Construction Code. 2,000 pages telling you how to build a house. And that's before you even get to the detailed rules. Builders know how to build a house, but the government wants them to build woke palaces. And we don't need that. If someone wants to build a woke palace, knock yourself out. But we should have choice. We should let builders decide how to build a house, not the government. So we'll slash the National Construction Code. We'll slash the tax laws, corporations law, and other areas of law that are making life hard for small businesses. We'll get these regulators back under control, because the first thing we'll say to each of the regulators on getting into government is your top priority is to help small business in this country to be competitive and productive. And stop getting in the way. So that's reward for hard work. We also need to have low energy costs in this country. Energy is killing businesses, particularly manufacturing businesses, but many others as well. Many others as well. And to do that, we'll scrap net zero. Labor's carbon taxes, they're piling across the economy. And we will make use of the natural resources this country has. We'll get rid of the moratorium on nuclear, and we'll keep fighting this Victorian government to get rid of the moratorium on gas. We need to use our gas and coal in this country. I've been fighting that since 2010, by the way, so this is one I'm really looking forward to winning on. But we also need to get immigration right. And you heard Warren talk about immigration. We're a great immigrant nation. We are a great immigrant. I grew up in one of the great immigrant towns of Australia, Cooma, where after the Second World War, people came out, war-torn Europe, they'd been at war with each other. The Russians and the Germans and the Czechs and the Poles and Danes and Dutch, and you know, they're all there. They were all there in my local town, and they'd been at war with each other. But that stopped. They did have a few, but there were a few brawls in the pubs, I'd say. It largely stopped. It largely stopped. Because the one thing they realised that they had in common is a love for this country. And that is the model of immigration we will re-establish in Australia. It does mean getting the numbers right. And you cannot have immigration levels that are higher than your housing supply. So we'll cap immigration based on the number of houses that are being built. We'll also work to get more houses built, which means getting the infrastructure in place. We've committed to a $5 billion housing infrastructure fund, and as I said earlier, slashing red tape to make it easier to build houses in this country, including getting approvals, environmental approvals. And finally, we will put Australia and Australians first. That means properly funding our Defence Force and our warfighters, who are not being given the support they need. They're not being looked after. But it also means making sure Australian citizens get the rewards that they should of citizenship. Our 5% home deposit scheme, for instance, should be for Australians. But one of the very first things that Labor did when they came to power is said, no, that should be available to non-Australians. Well, we'll fix that. We'll fix that. We will put Australians first. So that's our plan. That's the essence of the plan. There'll be more to say over the coming months and years leading up to the next election, which is still a couple of years or 18 months away. But you'll get a sense from that we want to restore an economy that works for Australians, and most of all, we need to put small business back at the centre of our country. So thank you for being here. Really great to see you all here, and I'm looking forward to taking some comments and questions in a moment.
Warren, Jane and Angus can go up to the hot seats, and I'll I always joke and say this is my chance to channel my inner Sarah Ferguson. You did a great job of calling for those that didn't watch it. She went to misquote you on 7:30 Shock Horror, the ABC, doing that. You covered it very well. So I've got thank you everyone that took the time to send through questions. I've got 3 here that we'll start with, which just sort of capture some of the main themes, and then we will, we've got a roving mic, so we'll go to some questions from the floor. So Angus, first one to you. So a lot of people have asked this, and just to really confirm, Labor's changes in the budget to negative gearing, capital gains tax and trust, so we're still waiting, Ms. James, to see the final trust, but can you just confirm, and I think a one-word answer will cover this, will the coalition government scrap Labor's taxes?
Yes, but I'm going to say one more thing, because I should have mentioned it earlier. We will go further. We will also reduce income taxes. And our tax guarantee will ensure that the rising taxes you saw in Warren's charts there will not happen. Labor's sneaky tax, where they use inflation to drive up income tax every year, will come to an end. That's our tax-back guarantee. At the moment, that sneaky tax is hurting a typical worker on $70,000 a year, $250 year one, $500 year two, $750 the next year, $1,000, double that if inflation is at the current level, we'll take that away. It'll come to an end, which means government has to live within its means, just like you will have to live within your means.
Thank you guys. The Future Generations Fund as well, for those that don't know, resources, when the prices are above what's forecast, we're going to lock 80% of that away to pay off debt and into nation building infrastructure. And the great thing about the Future Generation Fund and a tax back guarantee, to go to Warren's point, that's going to force governments to be disciplined and reduce spending. And if they don't want to do that, they're going to have to be upfront with the country and have the courage to increase taxes and explain to them why. So they're really important guardrails that we're going to put on governments moving forward. Jane, question 2 for you. In coalition, or when we're back in government in 2028, you'll be responsible for overseeing deregulation. A few people asked about over-regulation and increasing compliance for small business. What are some of the things that the party is considering to reduce the regulatory burden on small business?
I'm really looking forward to this job when we return to government. I think I'm getting myself a safari suit so I can carry a machete so we can slash through the red tape.
Chainsaw.
They're banned in Victoria. Go to one of those successful machete bins. They work so well. You won't be able to find one.
I'll fish one out of the bin and we'll use it to slash the red tape. One of the things that we have committed to in the budget and reply, first and foremost, is rewriting 5 different pieces of legislation. Now, Angus has already spoken about one of them, which is the National Building Construction Code. 2,000 pages that used to be 200. And by reducing that National Building Construction Code back down to a reasonable number of pages again, we can slash the cost of building a house by around $70,000. We think this is really important, but that's not where this will end. The Corporations Act is around 6,000 pages long. It's very, very complicated. It can be rewritten. The Tax Act, heaven help us, that actually comes in 2 volumes because it's so complicated. The second volume is actually renowned around the world as one of the longest pieces of legislation. It's around 10,000 pages. Is that right? Way too complicated. So we will rewrite the Tax Act. We'll also rewrite the Competitions Law and, of course, the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Act, which is one of the most complicated, biggest burdens on new mining businesses, or a new mine, or building a house, and not only that, but it's actually duplicated at state and federal levels. It is a very complicated piece of legislation. Labor tried to simplify it, actually just made it worse. So we will rewrite the EPBC Act too. So that's a good start. That's a down payment on cutting red tape. 5 pieces of legislation. But there's more to it than that. We want to make sure that interactions with government are simple too. Why should you tell us multiple times who you are and what it is that you do when we have the technology now to maintain privacy, but make sure that you tell us once, not multiple times. And most importantly, reporting to government, particularly for businesses, is becoming incredibly burdensome right up and down supply chains. One big company told me that just reporting on gender quotas and gender equity, on environment and on modern slavery is costing them around $30 million a year. Of course that gets passed on to the consumer, which is bad enough. But not only that, but all of that reporting is not just about them, it's about their supply chains as well. So small companies within those supply chains have to report back to the big companies the same level of data to report back to government. It's nuts that we're making people report that information to government because no one knows where that information goes. It's just a discipline of reporting it to government. So we'll make sure that we slash red tape for big and small businesses, but most importantly for small businesses. Because small businesses don't have compliance departments, you don't have human resources departments, you don't have in-house legal counsel, and it's not fair what is being done to you because you cannot scale regulation.
Well said, Jane. Angus, you've touched on this previously, and it's important we as a coalition, as a Liberal Party, acknowledge that we weren't always at our best in our last term as government. And many of the small business owners in the room, they've been hearing lower taxes and less red tape from all sides of politics, including our own, for many years. And Jane has just outlined some really great policies that we are considering and we will implement. But why should small business owners trust us to solve the problems they're facing?
Yeah, no, but I'm incredibly conscious of there's a sense of loss of trust in not just politicians, definitely in politicians, but across the board in Australia at the moment, and you can understand why. People are giving up hope. As you heard from Warren, there's just a sense that the economy's not working for young Australians, older Australians, any Australians. And so we have to change that. That's why we've been laying out our policy so early in this term, to commit to it early, to lay it out so you can hear it. And I'm going to be accountable. We're all going to be accountable. You'll be accountable. You can come and lynch Aaron if we don't do it. But we're going to do it because we have to. Because this country will not survive as we understand it if we don't do these things. That's why. That's why we have to do them.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you, Angus. Now, to the floor. Have we got anyone that wants to open the batting? And Billy, hello Billy. I'm close to here. I know what this question's going to be, but I'll let you ask it. I've got an answer to it, but you asked it.
I might have changed it out. Okay, g'day. My name is
Question, not too
Billy.
much of a statement.
Right. I own 2 restaurants.
Yeah.
Restaurants. I can't afford your instant write-off that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
I employ 52 staff. I happen to be a South Indian restaurant owner.
Yeah.
Bit unusual. Okay. One in the Dandenong Ranges, one in the Yarra Valley. So what I would like to know is, I'm listening to all this really big talk tonight. For a lot of it's over my head. I'm not stupid, but a lot of it is over my head. So nothing that you're particularly saying is really pragmatically hitting me on a day-to-day. Okay? And I guess for us, we talk about immigration. It's super important. Super important for us. I'm lucky because I'm an Indian business.
Yep.
So obviously the Indians love our food and they come and visit us. But I'm not lucky because I can't find the specialist South Indian chefs.
Yep.
The specialist chefs.
Yep.
Not somebody who can cook a burger,
Yep.
the specialist South Indian chefs. So as a result of that, we've had to close for a month, 2 restaurants, 52 staff that can't work at that time because we don't have the staff to be able to open. We also had to then, because we had no the staff capacity to do that, we then had to close one of our days a week because we had no staff to do that. So for me, it's about the day-to-day running of things. You're not providing answers. As far as I see at the moment, you're not giving me any pragmatic hope. Actually, we opened this time for this week we actually opened for 6 days in Belgrade. Woohoo! So we got ourselves open again. But I actually want to know, whilst I understand you want to stop immigration, I would also like to know, without the chefs that we have, we employ 40 locals, so 40 Australians, 52 staff, 40 Australians. Those guys don't have a job. I would like to know, pragmatically, what is happening.
So it's a great question, Billy, and so let me answer it. We don't want to stop immigration. We want to cap it based on the number of houses that are built in this country. Now, here's the good news. That is more than enough to fill the jobs you need filled if that immigration is focused on the skills we need. And it hasn't been. Here's the thing. Our skilled immigration program in this country, numbers out just in the last week or so, only 1/3 of those people are skilled. Only 1/3. It's not a skilled immigration program anymore. Why is that? Well, a key factor in this is the unions decide who's allowed to come in. That's what happens under Labor. That must change. And we need to allow employers like you to tell us who we need, and we need to skew our immigration program to the skills that we need in this country. And that has not been happening under Labor.
But it's also, what is happening is, I forget the immigration language, but the minimum wage that you have to pay these chefs is higher than the award wages of people that are Australian. Right? And it's going up and up and up, and the costs of doing it are up and up. I am a hospitality business. There is an average of 3% profit in a hospitality business. How do you think the Labor Party and the politicians, how do you think businesses can survive on that? Because we're going to get to a point where we can't pay chefs 82k, 80k plus the costs involved in it. We are a restaurant, a small restaurant.
Oh, I hear you loud and clear. And that's because our immigration program is not being run in the interests of Australia and Australians. It's being run in other people's interests. I tell you, the union officials are key to that, but it's and that has to be fixed.
And the other thing, Billy, we've talked about this. The previous government had designated area migration agreements, which look at not just skill, but also specific skills to specific areas. And Yarra Valley is a key area. And one of the things that was the problem with that, it stood at the discretion of the minister. And this isn't our policy. It's something I'm talking to John O'Donahue, who's the shadow minister, about. How can we look at targeting skills to geographical areas as well and take a systematic approach to that? So we're working through, it's who you bring in, but it's also where they live and what skill gaps are they solving because our skill gaps in the electorate of Casey are different to the skill gaps in inner city or a more regional area. So we're working through getting not just the number down, but getting the right people with the right skills into the right locations. And yours is obviously unique skill.
But Billy, can I just say I will ask Aaron to continue to feed into our immigration policy as it unfolds over the next few months to make sure we deal with that issue.
Thank you, Billy. Belinda, where's that mic, Paul? Can you?
Sorry, I've got to see if I can read my handwriting or something. I am a small business owner, but my question isn't necessarily small business related. One of the biggest expenses in this country is duplication between federal, state and local government. I've been researching this for the last 12 months and working with some very smart people in this country. The figures that they're running is 600 to 1. I can get those figures to you, and I will get those figures to you, but that is huge if that is accurate. I'm still I'm relying on their expertise because it's definitely not mine. So I guess my question, sorry, I've got scribbly notes everywhere. Given that I believe that innovation and productivity is now Australia's really only sustainable path forward, why do we keep talking about improving productivity in business, but rarely about redesigning government itself to make it more productive? Shouldn't that be sort of the next frontier that we look at?
Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely right.
Delivering government services in an efficient way should be front of mind. Governments are naturally very risk averse. We're reluctant to adopt new technologies because we're worried if something goes wrong, somebody will blame us and we'll lose government. And there's been plenty of examples of that. But that shouldn't be an excuse to live in the dark ages. And governments have consistently been left behind on technological journeys, and we shouldn't allow that to happen. But more importantly, we should also not allow duplication, you're right, between the states and federal government. And we shouldn't allow different regimes to exist where they cause friction. Why is it that a qualification for a GP is different in Queensland than it is in Victoria? If you're a GP in Victoria, surely you can operate in Queensland. Surely. That's just madness that you can't. Why is it that we have different licensing regimes for plumbers in New South Wales and Victoria, and yet there's only a river between the two of us? It's just crazy that we should have this system whereby if you've got a building and construction company in Wodonga, you can't operate with the same rules in Albury. That's just madness.
So would you look at bringing in, say, KPIs and things like that so that we can actually measure the outcomes? Because you're talking about accountability.
Yes.
And we need to start running this government like it's a business.
Yes. So let me give you an example. One of the things that Aaron mentioned before, and it was kind of a throwaway line, was the Future Generations Fund. The Future Generations Fund, as he said, is making sure that 80% of any windfall gains from the increase in commodity prices, so governments historically, and rightly so, lowball their commodity forecasts. We say, iron ore is only going to be X price next year. And then when it comes in at a higher price, we go, look how clever we are, we've made more money than we thought we were going to. Well, that's not the case. What we want to do is make sure that money that comes in door from higher commodity prices, rather than just being spent, which is what's happening under Labor, gets put into, like sequestered, put into a separate fund and is used for either paying down debt, so a genuine plan to pay down debt, or for increasing productive capacity in the economy. And it might be investing in productive infrastructure, certainly, but it might also be, and I'm using an example here, and Angus's eyebrows will shoot off his head when I say this, but it might be, we sit down with the states and we say, guess what? We think we should abolish stamp duty. What's it going to take? How are we going to manage this? But we will have that pool of funds, and a guaranteed pool of funds, to do something like that, to make those decisions, to enhance productive capacity in the economy. That's what a good government should be doing, looking for a way to deliver its services and deliver even, you know, tax people more efficiently, more effectively, and in a way that alleviates the burden on the economy, increases productive capacity.
Because if you're increasing that productivity and getting rid of that duplication, you're then actually giving more productivity within the private sector because you're removing it out of the public sector.
Exactly.
It will also, absolutely.
Both sides.
It also has to come down to regulators. I mean, there's plenty of regulators out there. Can I say we are a very well-regulated economy? There are lots of regulators out there. But why doesn't every single regulator, every single one, in its statement of expectations, have efficiency, productivity, and competition as part of its mandate? We should say to ASIC, hey listen, you've got plenty of jobs to do, you know, regulating the corporate sector. But efficiency, productivity, and competition should be foremost in your mind when you do that. You shouldn't be hampering productivity. You shouldn't be hampering competition. You know, so I think that that's going to be fundamentally important too.
We've got to move across, but yeah, we should more action, less talk. I agree. Although, and I agree, Belinda, it wasn't a Dixie, but as someone that said in their first speech, being me, that we should have federation and tax reform through a white paper process. I agree with you 100%, but that's a process for government, so we'll deal with it. But no, you're 100% right. Alan, short statement, please, I'm sure, and a question.
No question. So there's been so many different things raised. I would argue I lost 12 employees to NDIS and to aged care.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have a labour shortage, I think we have an allocation shortage.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Secondly, totally on board with Billy here. I face free market revenues, I face government costs on my expense side. So I would like to see government turn around and say, by the way, I'm going to slash your PAYG and reduce your taxes, and I'm going to pay for it by slashing welfare. Now, that would be an interesting conversation to have with the Australian public, and good luck with that, because it has become a national sport in Australia to vote for people who will give you a handout. So I understand all this talk, Sam and Angus, I do, and I sympathise enormously with you, because I think you are actually on the right side of free markets and the right side of conservatism. The problem is, you face a population that doesn't want to hear it, right? And Victoria, we voted back in Dan Andrews with a majority after he locked us up for 3 years, right? So because, and Warren, be careful what you wish for, we are now 55 to 60%, as reported by the ABS, government spending as a percentage of GDP. That means that 60% of the economy is employed by the government, your voting population. Peter Dutton went from 52% approval rating to 32% approval rating because he mentioned two things. I'm going to stop work from home and I'm going to sack the public service. He went downhill overnight. So what I'm saying, in conjunction with what Billy, and in terms of the talk about reform, etc., that is fantastic, but you have to face the electorate.
So, very brief comment. I hear you. We have already worked out how to pay for those tax cuts I talked about earlier. How are we going to do it? By slashing bureaucracy. The net zero bureaucracy, it's going to go. The housing bureaucracy that's not delivering any houses for this country. House completions down to 170,000, they were 200,000 when we were in power. It's going to go. It's going to go. The handouts to big companies, corporate welfare, it's going to go. And key government programs should be restricted to Australian citizens. We want great immigrants coming to this country, but if they're skilled immigrants, they don't need access to welfare. It's pretty simple. Those things combined give us the savings to reduce tax cuts or to reduce income tax for every Australian earning income, and to slash Labor's small business taxes and other taxes that they brought in at the budget. So, we're just getting started. The NDIS is unsustainable, you're right, and it's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed.
Hand out the back there and then.
Thank you. We all know that many changes that can be done at the federal level can be completely eaten away at the state level. It won't matter if you slash the building code if there's no land available to build on. And zoning is a state issue as far as I'm aware, for example. It won't matter if you slash income taxes and other business taxes if the surplus is eaten away at the state taxes like stamp duty, land taxes, etc. So the question is, what is your plan to ensure that your vision for Australia materializes all the way to the ground and doesn't stop at Spring Street? And with all due respect, hopefully the answer is not vote for us in November. Thank you.
Well, I would say that, by the way.
Vote one Jess Wilson and
Vote one
is a great start.
That will help. I think Jane touched on this. We need to use carrots and sticks to get the state governments to do the right thing. To give you an example, the $5 billion housing infrastructure fund we announced at the budget and reply. What's that there for? To build the last pieces of infrastructure that we know will get the approvals for housing at the state and local level. I've seen this myself. I've got one of the fastest growing electorates in Australia. If you can get that last bit of road built, if you can get that wastewater treatment plant built, if you can get the water supply right, if you can get the electricity connections right, you can get approvals to happen much faster. And you say to the states and local government, it's simple. If you give the approvals, we'll give you that money for that piece of infrastructure. And that reduces the cost of building houses, but most importantly, it allows it to be done faster. So those carrots and sticks, they're the key. That's what we've got to do. I'd like to see more Liberal state governments. That would help as well.
How you going? I'm Steve. We're both very involved in the building industry, and what we're seeing with builders is they're really worried about where skilled trades are going to be in the future. It's okay for them to be skilled, that's great, right? But we need to train our locals, and we're not doing it. They're not getting the funding, they're not getting anything. These kids are getting, all they're getting told is, let's go to university, right? And by the schools or the universities, and a trade's nothing. But a trade is very important, as we all know now. It's, we're very important. So what are you guys going to do to actually help us get kids to be a trade?
Yep. No.
And let me one, you two are doing a great job. Right? So keep it up. Don't give up.
No, we won't. You don't give up either. We need you building more. You are absolutely right. The first port of call for skills has got to be Australia and Australians. And I tell you, a trade career with AI coming at us, I would have thought that's one of the best possible careers any kid could have. And I think people are going to wake up to this. The key for me is you've got to have the incentive at the employer level to bring on those apprentices. We did that when we were in government. This worked. Labor's taken it away, and you've seen the reduction in apprentices. It's been dismal. It's been dismal. It's got to be fixed. Yeah.
And I think, Steve, it's also a cultural thing. I know when I finished high school, it was you were basically told that if you want to be successful, go to university. And to Warren's point, a lot of it is changing the cultural conversation to go. And we've got, in Casey, we do the Casey Apprenticeship Awards, and very explicitly we call out that is there to celebrate those that haven't gone to university, but have done a trade and have been successful. And so that's a lot that we can do, businesses can do. As Agnes said, my son asked me what to do, become a builder. It's a good job in my own world.
When I started, right, when I was at school, we had technical school, right?
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to try mechanical drafting, you know, go to do anything.
There's a shift
Haven't
back.
got any more.
Rangers Tech, which is in Lilydale, is another there's a shift back to trade schools, but it's still not where it needs to be yet, absolutely. And it's starting to change, and I think it will. We might get a couple more.
Before you move on, Aaron, just one of the big problems I think that this government has instituted is free tape. They love it. They sing it from the rooftops. Free tape is fantastic. Anybody can go in and learn a skill. The problem is the only statistics that they report are the number of people that start fee-free tape, not the number of people that finish fee-free tape. So people drop out from these courses. They won't tell you what courses that they're doing, what trades they're coming out with, what skills they're coming out with, the few that do graduate. And it's costing the taxpayer at the end of the day.
No, I've got
so we're
Paul
actually
Murray.
reducing
What time
the
are we
stock in our
It's not
economy,
important.
and it's costing us more to do it. That's crazy. At some point we've got to match our skills and the training that we need. Can I just say, in the building sector, thank you very much for doing what you're doing. We realise that you are all doing it really tough right now. There are about 30 small companies a day that are going out of business in Australia at the moment, and building and construction companies are some of the worst hit. So please stick with it. We need you.
Lisa, we'll go to you, and then we've got Lisa. I think you've got it.
Thanks, Aaron. Mine's probably slightly aside from small business. Young people are becoming really entrepreneurial, not just through apprenticeships, but through using technology and social media platforms and all sorts of things. And we know that getting you guys into government is going to take numbers. And so my question is really, what have you got to offer young people to try and get their vote?
I'm happy to. So you are absolutely right. I've got 4 kids in their 20s. And they are an ambitious and aspirational generation.
They better vote for you.
Yeah, they do. They do. They tell me they do. No, I'm pretty confident I got it. But they're an ambitious and aspirational generation. Make no mistake about it. I mean, this has been one of the real surprises for many about Labor's tax changes. Is one of the groups that have come out hardest against it is that younger generation. It is so clear. So we have to make sure that they understand that there's reward for effort if they want to get in there and have a crack. If they want to start a business, try and get ahead, they shouldn't be hit with a tax with their new 47% business partner, Anthony Albanese. I mean, this is insane stuff. It's crazy stuff. So that's the most important thing, is to hold out hope that ambition and aspiration will be rewarded if they work hard.
And that's the language you said, hope and aspiration earlier.
Yep.
We've got to use good language that's going to get to
Yeah. And I've been really heartened by the response from that generation in particular to what we've seen in the budget and the debate that's gone on since then.
Hi, thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Liv. As a member of a small family-owned business in the great growing wine production industry, we face significant challenges including seasonal cash flow, rising input, fuel and energy costs, labour shortages, and increasing regulatory and compliance requirements. At the same time, many family businesses are concerned about succession planning and whether the next generation can realistically afford to take over and continue operating. As an example, if my parents dropped dead tomorrow, I couldn't do anything. Just to let you know. What specific tax reforms, regulatory changes, grants and small business policies would the Coalition introduce to improve cash flow, reduce red tape, support investment and make it easier for the next generation to continue family-owned businesses, particularly in regional industries like agriculture and wine production?
I'll let Warren Mack comment and then I'll come back to it.
He's making up policy now.
Well, you can choose to take it up if you want. I've got plenty of free advice. It's a major shift going on where the intergenerational transfer of a business to younger people is not as seamless as it once was. The general feel I get, I speak to hundreds of businesses every month for years, is that the kids don't want to go into it. So you've opened up an interesting perspective that it's actually hard for the next generation. So I'm going to put my thinking cap on that. I can't give you an answer, so I've got to think about it. But it is actually a profoundly important piece of this whole intergenerational story, and that is, how do you get the businesses to keep going? How do you make sure that the next generation take it on, or if they don't, that you have to sell it and they get back the cash? How do you make that market work? And how do you fund that? So I think, you know, I don't think these guys should be feeling like they've got a policy, but it's going to be something we've got to think about in the next few years, because it's a new part of our operating environment.
Yeah. So well said, Warren. It's a great question, one that is close to my heart because I'm from a we're actually up to the 6th generation farming family, and this is a massive issue. I know every multi-generational small and family business is facing. My starting point is do not get rid of trusts. Do not, this would be a complete and utter disaster for small and family businesses. And I don't think they have a clue. I don't think Labor understands it. I don't think, you know, the night of the budget, I was reading the budget papers, I was thinking, how's this all going to work? What about the stamp duty? If you try and transfer from a trust to a company structure, how's that going to work? The whole point about a trust is it's designed for a family trust, it's designed around a very simple idea, which is when you are part of a family business, you're all part of that business. Every one of you. I know, I've experienced it. So to me, that's the kind of, I mean, we can go through lots of examples because you asked many good questions in there. But to me, these tax changes that Labor's bringing in, the CGT and the trust changes, are just anathema to a small and family business, and it shows you how little they understand about them. We'll get rid of them.
And to build on that, the self-managed super funds, a lot of agriculture businesses will put the asset, the land, into a self-managed super fund, the next generation can parent that. What a coincidence the government put the cap in at $3 million just before they changed the trust. Shock horror. We'll get a question up the back. Yep.
Yeah, my name's Paul Begun. I'm a chiropractor in Boronia. Been in practice for 25 years, so I've hired probably over 40, 50 staff, and I'm probably one of the lucky ones. I'm doing okay. My question is, what's your strategy to get better traction in the media? Because all this is conceptually fantastic, and I know doing local forums is fantastic as well with the people, but it is so frustrating to have Hanson almost dominate the media at the moment and for a period of time. And we're sort of coming maybe almost third in that. And for us to win this election, this message, you know, from one to many is going to be done through the media in many ways. What's the strategy for us to get this message out and get some traction?
So a couple of things. One is, Jane and I are doing media relentlessly now. We're going to be doing Paul Murray straight after this. We're going to be doing it here. And we're on morning TV this morning and morning TV again tomorrow morning, so we are not going to stop. We've also got to do non-traditional media. We're putting huge amounts of our time and energy and effort now into digital. You talked about the 20-somethings. That's incredibly important now. The point I would make about One Nation, so far they've had attention without scrutiny. Scrutiny is starting. Because if you want to govern this country, you should be scrutinised. We are, and it's appropriate that anyone who wants to govern this country gets the right level of scrutiny. So that will be happening. And as far as Labor goes, as much scrutiny as possible, particularly here in Victoria, because you need to get rid of this Victorian Labor government.
Hi, I have a question for Angus Taylor. My name is Emily Sang. I'm come from the small business owner community of Chinese Australian background. So yeah, my question kind of sort of continue what you just talked. Recently we see you got this major speech in Sydney Institute. You say One Nation will cause eternity of pain. This actually quite concern us because a lot of people, lots of Liberal Party supporter, we view One Nation as an important and strong ally against the Labour Party. All our wishes, we need a Liberal Party, a Liberal government in government. So yeah, just one, we want to share why do you take such a stance?
Well, my main stance is against the Labor government that has put us into an economic crisis and needs to go. That's my primary focus. But in the end, Australians will have a choice. Do they want to continue on with a government that's taking us deeper into an economic crisis, or do they want a team, a strong team, that has a plan? And we believe that we do have a way through this. We don't think one nation has the answers. We really don't. And that's the reality. Well, preferences you do in the lead up to an election. You do preferences. But in the end, it is important that Australians are informed when they make their choice and they come to the ballot box. It's absolutely crucial. Otherwise, I mean, it's like any business. If you're talking to your customers, you tell them about your product, and if they ask you about alternatives, you tell them about the alternatives, and you have to do that. But in the end, I think what Australia needs right now is a strong team and a strong plan, and we can offer that.
One more at the back, and then we'll have to. Yep.
Hi, my name's Tim York. I run a small licence surveying business out of Lilydale. I guess the CGT changes is the final nail in the coffin for housing in Victoria and confidence. The surveyors generally are the canaries in the coal mine when it comes to housing, and we're the first ones to feel it and the first ones to come out. It's dropped off a perch. The inquiries and the planning inquiries development has dropped right off. I guess one of the things, probably over the last 20 years is government departments have shut down the surveyors within their own industry. Surveyors are innovators. We've gone from the chain to the ADM to GPS to scanning to drones. We adapt to technology very quickly and utilise it. And no one's been investing in surveying, in the surveying industry and the training of surveyors at state or national level for many, many years. But we're critical to the foundation of the economy when it comes to housing and bank lending and confidence in property. So I think what I would encourage is for both the state Liberals and the federal Liberals to start talking to organisations like Consulting Surveyors Victoria or Surveyors Australia through Michelle Blickards, because we know the solutions. We've been developing, helping people develop property for a long, long while, and we know the answers, but very few people actually ask us the questions that how to solve the problem.
It's distressing to hear that you're seeing that fall off, because you are the lead indicator. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. And I'll very much take on your point about skills. I mean, we simply can't build houses or anything without surveyors. So, well said.
Thanks, Tim. And you're right. I mean, we talk a lot about building and builders. And sorry, Steve, you've already had one, and unfortunately, people are going to miss out. We've still got some. We're going to have a chance. There's some food coming out. There's some drinks. The bar will still be open for a little while. We've got a little bit extra. Thank you, Angus, Jane.
I have one question.
Alan.
Angus, if you would break up with your wife, would you?
If I was to answer that question, I would break up with my wife, and it would be her doing.
We don't take the sanctimonious high ground and then do something different like the Prime Minister. But thank you as always, Alan. I don't know why we continue to invite you. No, but seriously, thank you everyone. Obviously, a lot from Casey here, but it's also a bit of an outer east forum, so we've got people from Aston and Deakin as well. And we've talked a little bit about November, so thank you all for your time. But I would ask Claire Fitzmaurice, who's at the back there, to stand up. Claire is the Liberal candidate for Mombol at the